Welcome to another installment of Learn with Production. I'll be going over design best practices with a mix of related statistics, resources, and some history. The three main topics I'll be discussing will be UX and accessibility, design for conversion, and Figma. So jumping into UX and accessibility best practices, the two sources that heavily influenced our best practices are Accessibility for Everyone by Laura Kalbag. That's an ebook put out by A Book Apart. A Book Apart does really good short form books on web design and coding topics. And then the other one is How to Design Accessibility for UX Designers by Liz Brown on Udemy. That was a great course, pretty short, and it really breaks down some good best practices. And some general best practices, a nice simple UX law that to keep in mind is Jacob's law. Users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all the other sites they already know, which relates to the first point. Do not break design conventions unless there's a very good reason. So keep logo in the upper left, make buttons look like buttons, keep the navigation at the top. Getting into some general readability best practices, avoid 100% black and white combinations. Dark gray is better. It helps with dyslexic users. Do not place text on distracting backgrounds. Minimum body copy size is 16 pixels. No flashing elements, which we don't usually do anyway. But anything that can trigger epilepsy is just terrible. So avoid those things. Unconventional scrolling, large videos and parallax can cause dizziness. Color psychology, the cool blue zone is a good space for positive feelings with decent attention grabbing and comforting general purpose feel. Blue-green especially is a great color for drawing attention, and it comes with comforting associations. Hotter colors are also good for grabbing attention. But since reds can have negative emotional and cognitive associations, you just have to treat those with a little bit more caution in your designs. But they are good for errors and mission critical. Color independence. We shouldn't use color to convey information. A grayscale test is helpful for this, where there's tools where you can just take away the color from a design, and that's a good best practice to use. A good question to ask is if there's anything that you can identify or tell the difference between with a color removed, it's probably, you should alter that. Then we get into some color blindness things. These are some common color combinations to avoid. Red-green is the most common one. Grayscale, as I said, is the easiest way to do this. It represents the worst color blindness, so it's nice to just go to remove all the color, and it's just a good method for doing it quickly. Two apps we use to help with this are Sim Daltonism for Mac and Color Oracle for PC. And it's really simple. It just pops up a window on your screen and you can drag it over your design and kind of just see what it looks like without the color. And then for buttons, it shouldn't look like links. Rectangles are best. They look most button-like. Rounded corners are recommended. They also look a little more button-like instead of just like a box. Primary buttons should have a solid fill. Secondary buttons can be outlined. Primary buttons should be the most prominent on the page and should be consistent, so users get familiar with that primary button style. Design for conversion. Our goal is really to persuade without manipulating or using any dark patterns. We don't want to cause buyer remorse or any negative associations with our website. So the key elements that I'll be going over are design quality, trust and proof elements, above the fold elements, and photography. For design quality, it's subjective, it's hard to measure, but we all know good design mostly when we see it. This was an interesting fact. According to a study, 46% of users say web design is a top criteria for deciding if a business is credible or not. And it's pretty obvious. If you fall on or find it yourself on a sketchy or unprofessional looking website, you usually don't stay on that website for very long. So proof and trust elements. These are really effective. So many people rely on trust elements like results, awards, testimonials to make their decisions. Basically, 'cause rather than relying on their knowledge and intuition, they look to other people for guidance on what they should do. So this was another interesting point. I thought 57% of customers will only buy or use a business if it has at least 4-star rating. Above the fold elements that we mostly stick to in our best practices are prominent call to action, phone number, 1 to 2 trust elements, and a clear introduction to the firm and the unique value proposition. Getting a little bit into photography, we're flexible on this, but in general, it's nice to make our clients seem more approachable so that people don't really hesitate to pick up the phone and call them. Friendly colors, more approachable, more open. I think that's a nice way to go for our clients in general. I'm going to jump into some Figma items. It's been great for some of these points here. Design team collaboration. It's been really helpful for that. To our style guides, text, color styles, prototyping, and some design to dev items. There's a lot of sites we go to. A lot of times we'll just go out and look at, award sites and try and see what the trends are. And some of the trends are just too out, far in left field and not really usable for some of the stuff we do, but it's still good to get an idea of what's going on because website styles change pretty drastically every 2 to 3 years, I think. So it's good to just keep an eye out on those web design trend sites.